Hey, this is Terry Sanderson. What I want to talk about today is how to deal with racism. Now, for this video, when it comes to being a black person, I want to talk about how you can figure out ways to not let racism really get to you, at least really badly, whenever you experience extreme racism. So, for this video, to get into further detail, it will give three main reasons why, and not just any three main reasons, three of the best reasons why you should not, um, let racism get to you really badly. So this is something that I have thought about, and I think you will enjoy it quite a lot if you watch it. And trust me, you will enjoy it, and you will get the point of it. It's very simple and straightforward, and will help you deal with racism, so it psychologically doesn't get to you really badly, like it does to a lot of people. So remember to watch this video if you really want to learn how to deal with racism. So if you're exposed to it, it doesn't get to you really badly. So let's start off with the first point. The first reason why, when it comes to racism, you should not let it get to you, or in other words, how to deal with racism psychologically, is the simple fact that you base individuals based on their actual achievements and work, not based off of simply put it, their lineage. So that's exactly the first point I want to get into. Because the truth of the matter is, what I have realized about the world, especially being an open minded person, not being ignorant and closed minded like a lot of people, to be honest with you, unfair, unfortunately, are like in the black community. The truth of the matter is that everyone in the world has problems. And some people, when it comes to dealing with problems, they learn how to deal with it and they move on from it. Some people in the world, they have problems and they don't learn how to deal with it. And that's what I'm getting at here, is that everyone in the world has struggles, but some people are able to become successful and some people are not able to become successful because they let the problems overwhelm them. So the truth of the matter is, for this first point, what I want to get at here is that as a black person, whether male or female, you know, um, if I work hard and I am someone is who's worked very hard and has become very successful at it, why should I feel less than someone who might, simply put it, hasn't really done much, but just simply because they're white feels that they somehow are special? Because this is what my first point is that you base individuals more on their actual accomplishments than based on simply the fact of who, of like what race they are. Because the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of black people in the world who are successful. And anyone who knows anything about being successful knows that being successful is a very, very hard thing to do. It takes a lot of work. You have to be extremely consistent. It's inevitable you'll have really bad days. You will suffer. You'll experience disappointments. And it's full of so much strife that so very few people actually make it. As I'm certain, when it comes to the main artists who are actually successful, who have lasting careers just for music alone, and that's not including people from other industries, which is not that much different. You could probably name in a few dozen people at the most who have become successful, who are successful. But North America easily has hundreds of millions of people, and the truth of the matter is, it's very hard to be successful. And there's a lot of black people who are very successful. So what my point is, I'm trying to get at here, is that why should, just because someone is black, because that's what racism really is. It's the idea that every single black person is inferior to white people. Why should a black person who has achieved much, has become, who it could be anything from a world-renowned musician, okay, could be anything from someone who is a very successful academic, or anything of that matter, feel less than some freaking person, for all you know, lives in the middle of the Midwest, or even like in the middle of the Deep South, is a biggest loser. He's failed at everything in life. He probably, for all you know, is overweight. He's probably, for all you know, has contemplated suicide like 10 times, to say the least, is just a freaking loser. He hasn't accomplished anything. And it's not even the fact that he has issues. It's just the fact of who he is and how he behaves himself is is the reason why he's failed. Okay, and this can apply to not just men, it can apply to women who are white. The truth of the matter is, we have losers in all communities of people, and sometimes you realize it's actually their own fault for it. And the truth of the matter is, why should I, as a black person, feel less if I have accomplished a lot than someone who hasn't really done shit? Like if you're a successful black person, you're able to become successful to the point that you can become senator, or even someone like Barack Obama, which whether you like him or not, it's a very hard thing to do. Feel less than some random white person who's a freaking janitor. You know, like does that sound like someone who's doing that great in life? No. So the truth of the matter is that you have to realize there's no such thing as being inferior based on your genetics. It comes down to your own personal choices that determines someone's abilities and self-worth. It has nothing to do with no bullshit about, oh well, you're white so you're automatically better, when for all you know that person spends all their freaking time and in like their freaking trailer park snorting cocaine and and injecting heroin and doing all sorts of crazy shit. Like why should I, who's actually worked hard, who's probably been even through even worse, and has gone through it, has resisted temptations to take that stuff, feel less than someone who's a freaking snorting, all that sort of stuff, and it's going to get nowhere in life. And that's the thing racist people will never tell you, is that there's a lot of white people who are losers. And I'm not saying most white people are losers, but I'm saying there's people who are losers in every group of people. So that's my first point to why you shouldn't feel less. The second point, when it comes to the issue of how to deal with racism, is simply put it, when it comes to the issue of racism, you have to realize the things that happened to our ancestors would never happen again in the 21st century. Okay? Because the racist people, actually, when you look at the mind of a racist person, that doesn't seem like a very happy person to you. Even though they like to brag and talk about how great they feel because they're white and blah, 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 and all this type of stuff and how they're so great and stuff. The truth of the matter is, when you actually analyze it, they must be really unhappy people. Because the truth of the matter is, all they think about is how they feel that they're better than everyone because they're white. But the truth of the matter is that most of the is this glory age that they are talking about is never coming back. Because there's a lot of reasons why slavery would never come back, in all honesty, especially for a more self aware black community. Because the truth of the matter is, when it comes to the idea of slavery, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to slavery, is that it would be very impractical to do it today. First and foremost, the black community is a lot more educated than they were in the 1800s. Most black people, nowadays know how to read and write. The things that happened during the height of the Jim Crow era, and of course during the days of slavery, the antebellum self, only happened because they picked on a community of people who, like any evil group of people, when you actually look at history, they pick on people who really didn't have the ability to fight back. And the thing is, we can read and write now. We can understand things. We're not just going to sign contracts and do things that we don't really know what it really means, or this and that. This is not the 1800s anymore. So for people to really fuck people over like they did back then is highly impractical. Not to mention, how would it even work logistically because first and foremost, there's a lot of successful black people in the modern world who I'm certain with their influence can literally prevent the tide of something from that happening, such as the amount of successful musicians we have, the amount of successful entertainers in general we have, who maybe they're not like politicians, but they have a lot of influence due to the status they have. Not to mention, what would happen to all of the sports teams? Because Americans love sports, particularly Americans, out of every group of people in the world, I think love sports the most, or at least close to, like in terms of passion, sheer passion, if anything. The truth of the matter is, what would happen to all the sports teams? Black people were the ones who pretty much made sports enjoyable to look at. And what would even happen to like the World Olympics and stuff? Like when it comes to winning medals, who would be the ones winning the medals? Because and that's what I'm trying to say. That's the thing they don't tell you. They don't tell you we are a lot more powerful than we were back then. And even when it comes to logistics of pulling something off like that, I couldn't even imagine the riots that would happen if they were to try to make slavery come back again. It would be a complete disaster, And especially if people were with people being able to speak out, it would literally fall apart. So that's just the second point I want to make. The third point is that no community of people can claim all of the knowledge in the world belongs to them. When you look at history, whether it's things like gunpowder, to the invention of architecture, to invention of the alphabet, which was invented by the Phoenicians, to everything, those things were not invented in Europe. Europe just developed a better version of it, if anything, at the most, if you really want to say anything. They just developed an idea that already existed. So that in itself is a huge fallacy. This idea that white people created everything so we shouldn't feel indebted to them. That is a myth. So these are the three topics I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was very informative. I hope it dealt with any psychological issue you've had. If you like this videos and videos like this, remember to hit the subscribe button and thumb this video up. And this is all I have to say. Simply put it, later.